much.
So
Or she's going to finish the entry now. She did the first part. She debited account receivable 45, credited revenue 45, and now she's going to debit CGS
for 30,000.
30,000. What do you think the credit is to? Read it to us.
Finished goods costing 30,000 were sold on account for 45,000.
Okay, so what do you think it is?
So it's cost of goods sold for 30,000.
What's the other account, do you think?
Accounts receivable?
It's going to be 30,000 to the right side. She's got $100 now in her account. We're going to give her double or nothing for another 100. She'll be up to 2 if she gets it right. It's going to be a credit for 30,000 to make it balance. What account will be debited? I'm sorry, my bad. What account will be credited?
Account credited?
Yeah, what account will be credited? In other words, it's going to be credit 30,000.
Accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable. They're paying us money?
Oh, no. Accounts payable? I don't know this number.
Read it again to us, I'll help you.
Finished goods costing 30,000 were sold on account for 45,000.
Okay. And what account is that again?
Finished goods.
Where's that account? Show me where that T account is. Where's the T account for finished goods? Point it out to me.
Work in process.
No, finished goods. I abbreviated, I guess I gotta be careful.
I don't know where it is.
There's no T account for finished goods?
No.
That
What
one.
is this?
That's the one that's gonna get smaller. Okay, she'll get, well, the Texas Instruments will still give her $100. Entry 8. Our sponsor, one of our sponsors.
30,000.
Just kidding about that, incidentally,
Yeah.
but hopefully we'll get him as a sponsor. NJCampus.com will have to handle the financing there on our little quiz show. Bigger than and better than Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, I might add.
There.
Okay. And so there's some stuff we didn't learn tonight. That's her problem. That's a problem she needs to learn for her class. So there's some other stuff that we'll go over the next time we get with her. She has to go, though, now. We have to learn some other stuff, like closing out the overhead accounts into work in process, the actual and the applied. So she has some gaps in her knowledge still. But she did pretty good, hole on wall. And she probably got a general idea. The thing we want to keep in mind for you, Mirelis, is to always make our T accounts. You see how we make the T accounts, raw, work in process, and finished goods?
Yes.
We put our 2 arrows. That's the general system. And on NJCampus.com, there is a little short 9-minute film up there someplace on that website. But you're not going to have time for me to show it to you tonight, so. But if you type in NJCampus.com,
Okay.
there's a little bit of cost accounting on there. And are you ready?
Yeah.
It's now she's going to copy it down. So she did a good job. There's some other stuff. What happens is the overhead, we never had an actual. They didn't give us information for actual. So what we would have had to make a journal entry, debit overhead for the actual, credit payable, credit cash, and credit usually accumulated depreciation for on the credit side. So that would have to be done. They didn't give us any information on that. So, in this particular problem, we put factory labor. We could have separated factory labor, and we could have put factory labor, instead of debiting at 80, Mirelis, remember we debited in entry 3?
Yeah.
We could have debited, we could have did, what happened was we could have debited at 48 and 32 to match where it eventually went. You see where it eventually went to overhead 48, to work in process 48? Mm-hmm. So we could have, am I making sense to you?
No.
Like instead of putting factory labor 80, I could have put 48 there, and in other words, we didn't put factory labor in the other T account.
Okay.
A minor nuance.
Is it incorrect the way we did it?
No. But it's not incorrect, but I might be tempted to, as a potential alternative, put this at 48 and put this at 32 in entry number 3 as an alternative on the debit side. Instead of debiting this for 80, debit this for 48, this for 32. And then credit this for 32 in entry 4. And then credit this for 48 in entry 4 when it comes over here. Do you see that? Does that make sense to you? Mike was walking through the problem as I went. The factory, for example, the factory labor for the finishing was 32. And the factory labor for the mixing was 48. So you could just change that slightly. Do you understand what I'm saying, young lady? Do you?
Yes.
You sure? All right, very quickly before we shut this tape off, what I was saying was that we could potentially have separated these two into one for 48 and one for 32 and made factory labor 48 was for the mixing, and then for the and then we could have done FL for the finishing at 32. Does that make sense to you? Or am I confusing you now?
No. I got it. But I thought it was easier if we did the 80.
We could do it at 80. Leave it at 80.
Because it's easier that way.
Okay, leave it at 80. That was okay, leave it at 80. And we'll see you all next time on NJCampus.com.